Hey, welcome everybody. My name is Dennis Brown, and this is the weekly Freight Broker Bootcamp Live. Thank you for joining me. If you're catching this on replay, hit me up in the chat box with hashtag replay. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear from my replay folks. I know sometimes you can't make it live. That's okay. I appreciate you joining me at any point throughout the journey. So again, today we're going to be doing a Freight Broker Bootcamp Live, but today we're going to talk about something a little bit different, right? We're going to get inside of your head a little bit and a challenge that a lot of people face as particularly new brokers, and that is how to overcome the fear of rejection. So I'm going to talk to you today about how top freight brokers overcome the fear of rejection in sales, because sales is just a part of the business. We have to embrace it. Getting no and getting rejection is just a part of that. So I'm going to share with you some strategies on how top freight brokers do that, right? And what their process is and what their mindset is and how they go about getting over that rejection fear. And I'm going to tell you a quick story about myself that you might be surprised. So before we do all that, I want to welcome a few people into the stream. Let me know the city and state. Oops, here we go. Let me know the city and state where you guys are logging in from. Hopefully the audio is good. Let me check something really quick. Audio. Okay, I think test. Yes. Okay, cool. Sorry, guys. I just want to make sure the audio was working right. I forgot to do a quick sound check. So it looks like the video is going good. Looks like the audio is going good. Hit me up in the chat box with city and state that you're logging in from. I'll try to give you a shout out. Welcome to Paul Spates from Frisco, Texas. Vanetta, welcome. Jeff Bjork from Prescott, Arizona. Tatiana from Palmdale, California. Tax Service from Arizona. Jay Ward from Dallas, as always. A Facebook user from Sacramento. Thanks for joining me. Cindy Kane from Houston, as always. Michelle Renee from Wyandotte, Michigan. Michelle was, I think, last week or the week before's winner of our big giveaway. Eddie Holmes from Dallas, Texas. Heather Evans from Lost Creek, West Virginia. Dimitri from Europe, East Europe. Welcome, Dimitri. So we got another country, another continent here. Willie from Fresno. Patricia from Gastonia, North Carolina. Welcome. Treachus Bailey from Hampton, Georgia. Welcome. Moses from Dallas. Millie from Cape Coral, Florida. Michelle. Yeah, you were the winner last week. Awesome, Michelle. We have Derek from Little Rock. Blue Lotus from Orlando, Florida. Jasmine from Europe. All right, we've got another yeah, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, but welcome. Thank you for joining. Elio from Houston. Welcome, Elio. Misha from Schaumburg, Illinois. Teresa from Bowie, Maryland. Pat Brock Sr. from Dallas. We got more Dallas. We got Nicholas Curie from Fort Worth, Texas. Dallas is in the house as usual. And we got a whole bunch of people joining us. Thank you so much for joining us. Let me give you the agenda, okay? So number one, we are going to do a training. And the training is titled I got a lot of notes. You'll see them here, okay? How top freight brokers handle rejection in sales. That's first. Secondly, I'm going to do a giveaway. I'm going to give away another shirt, another Freightpreneur shirt. I'm going to give that away. I'll give you some instructions on exactly how to qualify. One person that's live today is actually going to get this shirt, okay? And then the third thing we're going to do at the end is we're going to do live Q&A where you guys will type in some questions in the chat box later at the very end. Stick around to the end for the Q&A, and then I'm going to try to answer those questions. I'm going to try to get through as many as I can, okay? So does that work? Does that work for everybody? Do you guys like that agenda? Let me know. And today, I decided to do this training because I think one of the biggest hurdles, one of the biggest issues, one of the biggest challenges that new freight brokers and new freight agents face is sales, is getting past the fear of picking up the phone. And a lot of that has to do with the fear of rejection. And so today we're going to talk about this. I'm going to break this down for you, and I'm going to share a very personal story with you, right? My own personal experience as it comes to rejection and fear when it comes to sales. But before we do that, let's talk about the giveaway. So if you guys want to be entered to win this shirt, all right, I'm going to give it away to one person. You have to be in the United States. I apologize. well, I apologize. I don't apologize. Really, shipping costs internationally are crazy for a $25 t-shirt. So this is the Freightpreneur t-shirt. Someone that solves problems you don't know you have in ways you can't understand. You think I'd have it memorized by now. I've given away dozens of these. The Freightpreneur shirt. Someone who solves problems you don't know you have in ways you can't understand. All right. So here's what all you have to do. All you have to do is on Facebook or YouTube or any social platform is first, hit the like button. You got to like the stream. And then you have to share the stream. Just hit the share button and share it on Facebook, share it on Instagram, share it on Pinterest, share it on Twitter, share it on LinkedIn. I don't care where you share it. Just share it with your audience, share it with your network, share it with your friends. If you don't have a big social following, click, share it via email. Get the link and share it via email with 3 people that you know. And then come back in. I want you to do that right now. And then come back in and under the comments here, wherever you are on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you're watching this, type hashtag shared. That's going to tell me that you are now qualified for the contest. Now, this is an honor system, okay? I'm not going to go back and check everybody, but if I do find out, I'll let everybody know that you tried to scam me, okay? So just if you truly are able to share the stream, share it and then come back in and hit hashtag shared. That's going to let me know that you want a chance to win this shirt, okay? And I give these away a lot. I've got a couple different versions of it. And then I'm going to do a drawing after the training, okay? So you have a little bit of time to do this, but if you're smart, you're going to do it right now. Share the stream, okay? And then come back and hit hashtag shared, all right? So, yeah, we see a lot of people that are sharing it. Most people here are used to doing this. Yeah, we got a bunch of people that are sharing it. So just share the stream wherever it is. The easiest place is if you're on Facebook, just share it. If you have the link and share it to one of the other platforms, because it's hard for you to share it on YouTube, just share it on one of your other platforms, the YouTube link, and let people know about Freight Broker Bootcamp. So again, you had no price of admission to get into this training today, right? There wasn't some sort of paywall or a cart. I didn't ask you for any money to be a part of this training. So your cost of admission is to like, share, and engage in the training, right? So pay attention and engage in the training. So put all your distractions aside. Put the cell phone down unless you're watching this on your cell phone. Shut off your music, close your office door, get your mind right, because I want to share with you, this is a very important lesson. For most of you, these strategies can literally make or break your success as a freight broker, because sales is a very important part of the business, okay? And so here, I'm going to dive in. And today, we're going to talk about how top freight brokers overcome and handle rejection in sales, okay? So how top freight brokers handle rejection in sales. But before I dive, I'm going to share with you, I think it's about 5 tips, okay? About 5 tips, 5 things I want to share with you. But before I dive into those 5, I'm going to tell you a quick story, okay? Some of you may have heard some version of this before. I got my first sales job when I was still in college. It was 1992, March of 1992, as a matter of fact. And I had never thought about being a salesperson. I was a pre-law major, but I was broke and I needed money fast. And all I knew is that these guys were willing to pay me a base, an hourly, plus some commissions. And so I got hired, and you may have heard before, admittedly, I was the worst salesperson they had ever hired. One of the challenges, the first challenge that I faced was dealing with the fear of rejection. I remember my first day vividly. I remember it vividly. I can still picture the desk. I can still picture the phone. It's that ingrained in my mind. And so I remember that phone feeling like it weighed 100 pounds because I was so scared to make phone calls. I worked, I think that day, the first day, I think I worked, I was working part-time because I was a student. I think that first day I worked 4 or 5 hours. And I'll be honest with you, I'll bet you I didn't make more than 5 or 10 phone calls that entire day. Okay. Which is embarrassing, but true. Okay. And the reason why is because I was deathly afraid of rejection. What you have to understand about me is that I'm a competitive guy. I've played competitive sports since I was a kid. I wrestled in did Division I wrestling all through college. I've also been competitive on the national and international level in judo. And so I'm a competitor. I don't like to lose. And what I equated rejection to was losing. That was my own personal, mindset and mind block, right? That was blocking me. And so I looked at every phone call as a win-lose deal. And that if they told me no or they rejected me, it was like me losing. And so I felt the pain of losing as an athlete when I would just get a little bit of rejection on the phone. And I realized after watching some of the other salespeople, particularly the top salespeople, they didn't let rejection bother them. They didn't let it take away their momentum. They didn't lose their enthusiasm. They controlled their emotional state, and they were able to overcome that very easily and move on and get sales and generate income for the company and make a lot of money. I mean, people in the company were making six figures. Top salespeople were making six-figure incomes. And so I realized and emulated what they did. So I realized at that point that I had to go all in. If I didn't go all in, it wasn't going to work, right? And again, I was broke and I'm competitive. So, I didn't want to be the worst sales guy there. And so ultimately, I overcame my fears. And some of the strategies I'm going to share with you today, some of the tips I'm going to share with you today are a part of that. But these are also tips of I've observed hundreds and hundreds of freight brokers and freight agents over the years. And I pay attention in particular to the top freight brokers, the people that are in the top 5% of the game, okay? So I'm going to share with you 5 tips, 5 strategies on how top freight brokers overcome rejection in sales, all right? Number 1, they assume the sale, but they fully expect rejection. They fully anticipate rejection, okay? Let me explain that to you. That sounds a little weird. They assume the sale, but they anticipate rejection. So the best salespeople, top salespeople, are confident, okay? They have a very good posture. What I mean by posture is they lead with confidence. When they say something, it's like it has an exclamation point on the end, not a question mark, okay? So they're not passive. They have a confidence and an aura about them. So they're very confident. And so that confidence comes from assuming the sale. What they realize is that every person they get on the phone with could very well potentially become a customer. So they become very confident with that. And it's very important that you do assume the sale, that you would do assume that everybody you're going to talk to has the potential of being a customer, right? Even though you know that there's going to be a lot of rejection, because a lot more people are going to tell you no than are going to tell you yes. Those are just the facts. I don't care what you're selling, all right? The second part of that is, again, they know that not everybody's going to buy. The good news is, in order to make 6 figures, okay, as a broker or agent, you really only need a small handful of customers. So that's the good news. So the reality is not everybody's going to buy. You're going to get rejection. You're better off being confident and assuming the sale, but understand that rejection is a part of the game. Getting no is a part of the game. Okay, so that's number 1. They assume the sale, but they understand and anticipate rejection. So it doesn't surprise them. They're never surprised when they hear no. All right, so that's number 1. Number 2, they don't take rejection personally. They don't take hearing the word no personally. This is not a personal thing. Not very often, if ever, are you going to run into a situation where a prospect is going to tell you no because they don't like you personally. They're going to tell you no for a variety of reasons, right? They're going to tell you no because you took the wrong approach, or it's the wrong timing, or their own mindset. For example, they've got limiting mindset. Maybe it's their circumstances or past experiences. But ultimately, them telling you no is not no to you. It's no to the sale. It's no to the service. It's no to the company. So when you separate those two, it makes it a lot easier. Don't take rejection in sales personally. It's not personal, right? You need to control your emotions. You need to manage your mental state, because if you take everything personally, right? Like I was when I first started, I would take it as a personal loss on myself. Like I lost the battle. I lost the fight. I lost the sale. I took things very personal and I internalized it. What happened is it would burn you out very quickly and you will never survive in sales. So that's number 2. They don't take rejection personally. Just like the top salespeople that I emulated when I first started, I realized they didn't take rejection personally. So it's important that you understand and learn how to manage your states when it comes to that. Number 3, this is a very important one, so lean in, okay? They are ready and able to handle objections. Here's the thing, guys. What you have to understand is that you are going to get objections. Almost every sale you're ever going to make in your life, in any industry, is going to have some objections. They're going to put up some sort of resistance. And those objections can come in a variety of different formats. A lot of times as a broker, you hear, send me some information, right? That's an objection in a way, right? They're trying to give you the Heisman. They're trying to push you off. They're going to give you the price objection. They're going to give you the, hey, we don't use brokers. We only use asset-based objection. They're going to give you the, I don't have time objection. They're going to give you a variety of different objections. And you need to understand how to handle them. So you need to develop the mindset and the skills, right? And the lingo to overcome those objections. If you're not prepared to handle those objections are going to turn into rejections, right? So the best way to overcome rejection is to overcome the objection first. Okay. And I'm not trying to get too heady or crazy here, but I want you to understand that objections are going to be a part of the game. So you have to understand how to overcome the most frequent objections. Very important. Because if you don't, those will turn into rejections. Because if you can't satisfy their concerns, their only alternative at that point is to tell you no. All right. So that's number 3. Number 4, they approach every no as an opportunity to learn. Now, what do I mean by that? You're going to get a lot of no's. And when you first get started, you're going to get more no's than some of the more experienced people. The key is there's 3 things you can do, right? 1, they critique their own performance. So at the end of every call, take 15 or 30 seconds or 1 minute to critique your performance. What happened on that call with that prospect? Some people record their calls, which is a great idea and a great tool for critiquing yourself. If you can record your calls, awesome. That would be a great way. There's software out there, tons of software, different call systems and different online programs where you can record your calls, and it's a great way to critique yourself. All right. So critiquing your own performance, the what ifs and what was said and your tone and your flow and how the engagement level and your pace and all kinds of different components that fall into a verbal phone conversation, right? And so number 1, they critique themselves. Number 2, they ask their peers to critique them, their managers, other top performers, other people that are new to them, right? So they're not afraid to get critiqued by their peers, right? They're not afraid to get advice. They're open to being coached, right? And then number 3 is they make the necessary changes. So based upon what they observe or what they hear, they try new things. They adjust, they adapt, they overcome. And that's an important part of this self-evaluation, right? Of evaluating your performance, right? So the 4th one, again, is they approach every opportunity and every phone call as a way to learn. I remember very vividly, this is something that I would do. This is something that a top performer told me to do in that first sales job. And he said, listen, after every call, sit down and take mental note of what went right, what went wrong, and how you could improve on that call. And take 30 seconds or a minute and try to internalize that so that the next time you get on a call and you're in that situation, you know how to act, react, or handle that situation. And so I remember that vividly. And so that's an important part of this. So number 4, again, was they approach every no as an opportunity to learn, right? And number five, right? Number five, they follow up and they find the opening. Now, you've all heard this before, the fortune's in the follow-up, right? I'm going to read you some stats here. According to HubSpot, right, and a survey that they did, 44% of salespeople give up after one rejected pitch. 44% after one rejected pitch. But most prospects require more than just a simple transaction. In fact, 80% of sales require 5 follow-up interactions, and another 20% will wait 12 months after requesting information about your company before they buy. All right, so the fortune is in the follow-up. They don't take rejection as it's no forever. It's just no for now. Now, are you going to call the same prospect every day for a week after they've told you no? Probably not. They're probably going to get upset, a little pissed, and you're probably never going to do business with them. But just because they told you no today doesn't mean in 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 8 weeks or 12 weeks that it's going to be no forever, because circumstances change. You're going to get better in sales. Things are going to change in their business, and they're going to realize that you are following up and you're professional and that you are diligent, and that type of character is who they want to work with, right? They don't want to work with somebody who gets a little bit of rejection, because they know on the service side that if you just accept that rejection on the sales side, on the service side, you're never going to hold up. You're never going to be able to give them the service that they need, because there are always going to be challenges on the service side if they do start doing business with you, right? If you lose a truck, are you just going to give up, throw your hands up in the air and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't cover the load"? No, of course not. You're going to dig in, and you're going to do the right thing by the customer, cover the load, get it picked up on time, deliver it on time in good condition with no problems. Okay, so that's how it's going to work. So they follow up, which is what I just talked about, and they find the opening. Now, the second part of that is they leverage sales intelligence and they leverage sales triggers as a way to create or find an opening. Now, sales intelligence, sales triggers is basically data that enhances your opportunity to get the sale, right? So it's a crack in the door. It's an opening. It's an opportunity to get your foot back in the door after hearing no. And so how they do that is they pay attention to the industry that the client is in. Any industry news or changes. They pay attention to the client as far as any news. Do they have any new product launches? Is there a new executive? Did they just raise a round of financing? Did they just acquire somebody, right? Did they just have a record year or a record quarter, right? They watch what's going on inside of those prospects. They monitor that activity. And then what happens is when the opportunity comes, when that piece of data that opens up the door, that sales trigger happens, they use that sales trigger as a way to reach back out to that prospect, start a conversation, and re-engage them in the sales process, okay? So those are the 5. Let me share them with you again really quick. They assume the sale, but they anticipate rejection. Number 2, they don't take it personally. Number 3, they're ready to handle common objections, which is very important in sales. Number 4, they approach every no as an opportunity to learn. And number 5, they follow up and they find the opening, just like I shared with you, okay? They find the opening, a new product, a new acquisition, a new executive hired, some sort of change in the industry, and they use that as an opening to get back inside and start a dialogue, okay? And so hearing no, all right, and getting rejection is not the end. It's just the beginning, okay? So you need to develop your mindset. You need to develop your sales skills. You need to develop you in order to overcome objection, overcome rejection, and to move on and be successful in sales. And so really quickly, I just want to share with you really quick. I'm about to launch my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program. This is a specific, very specific course that is for people that are either just starting to get customers, just getting on the phone selling, or maybe they've already started doing selling, but they want to ramp up their business. They want to leverage some modern sales strategies and the techniques that I use to do over $200 million in sales as a broker. And so I'm putting that Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program. We're going to be launching very soon. And if you want to be a part of that program, okay, I have a wait list. Okay, I have a wait list for that program. Last time it sold out in one day. Okay, this time I'm going to be adding a few more people, but there's also a lot more people on the wait list. So if you want to be a part of that wait list so that you are the first to get notified when I launch the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, that's where I take this piece of my brain and I transplant it into yours about everything I know about the sales strategies, sales processes. And the biggest feedback that I got from people that have taken the course is, number one, it gave them the strategies and the skills. But most importantly, it gave them the confidence. It gave them the confidence to pick up that phone. The phone went from weighing 100 pounds to weighing ounces, and they were able to engage in those conversations and get clients, okay? So if you want to be on that wait list, go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/FB sales. Very simple. freightbrokerbootcamp.com/FB sales. That's where you can get on the wait list. If you're brand new and you're just curious about becoming a freight broker, okay? If you're at that first stage, I have my program called Freight Broker Bootcamp, right? Which is where we've trained over 8,000 students. We have a 60-day, 100% money back guarantee, and it teaches you how to go from zero to starting to get customers, get your business set up and running and starting to get customers and making positive cash flow in that introductory course of freightbrokerbootcamp.com. If you're new and you haven't went through Freight Broker Bootcamp, check that out. If you're trying to compile information on Google and YouTube and trying to fit it all together and you want to expedite that process, the entire course is there for you. Just go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Okay? Thank you for joining me. I truly appreciate it. Again, for the Sales Accelerator, freightbrokerbootcamp.com/FB sales. And for the introductory Freight Broker Bootcamp to just get you started, go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com. All right, guys. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do the giveaway. So you have about 1 more minute. If you join me late, I'm going to be giving away one of these shirts to one live viewer. Okay? One of these shirts to one live viewer. Here's all you have to do. Share the stream on Facebook. Share the stream. If on YouTube, share it on Pinterest, share it on Twitter, share it on Google, or not Google, share it on, I don't care where you share it. Share it somewhere socially with your friends, with your family, with your network. Let them know about these free Freight Broker Bootcamp live trainings that I do. And I'm going to give away one of these shirts, the Freightpreneur shirt, right? Someone who solves problems you don't know you have in ways that you can't understand, okay? I'm going to be giving one of these away. Now, you have to be in the US. I want to just qualify that because of the shipping cost. And so ultimately, once you do that, come back in and in the comments, type #shared. #shared. Very important. That's how I know that you actually shared the stream. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to randomly pick somebody. I close my eyes, I scroll through the feed, and then I randomly pick somebody, and you're going to be the winner, and I'm going to ship that shirt out to you this week. So you have about 30 seconds to share the stream, and then I'm going to be doing the giveaway. I'm going to grab a quick drink in the meantime. Thank you. Oh, did anybody notice my shirt today? I'm not giving this one away, but this says grit. Talent counts, effort counts twice. I thought this was kind of a cool shirt. So today we're going to be giving away that Freightpreneur shirt, and I give away different stuff all the time. Books, money, shirts, free consultation calls. I give away all kinds of stuff, okay? Today we're giving away the shirt. So if you want to be a part of that drawing, then you need to share the stream and then come back and hit #shared. And there's an honor system here. I'm not going to go out right now and check and make sure everybody shared it on your social following. I'm not going to do that. So this is an honor system. So I'm hoping that you guys will just share the stream wherever you're at, and then we're going to do the giveaway. All right. So we got a bunch more people that have shared. All right. So here we go, guys. All right. Now I'm going to pick the winner. I've got all the shareds here. Okay. All right. So let me just pull them up, and then I'm going to close my eyes and randomly pick. Where are they? Hold on. There they are. Okay, cool. All right. So here we go. I'm scrolling through, and the winner is Tatiana Lozano is the winner. Congratulations, Tatiana. Listen carefully. Here's all you have to do in order to collect your shirt and your winning prize. go to the Freight Broker Bootcamp Facebook page. On Facebook, go to the Freight Broker Bootcamp Facebook page and message me. And here's all you need to send: your full name, your full address, your cell number, and your size. Now, the shirts run pretty true, right? Small, medium, large. So I wear a large. I'm 5'11", about 195 pounds. So that's not this shirt, but that's the size that I wear. So adjust your size accordingly. And I will get that shirt shipped out to you this week. Congratulations, Tatiana. Thank you so much for joining me live. Thank you, everybody else who participated, who shared, who's joined me live. I truly appreciate it. We're going to jump into Q&A now. We're going to jump into live Q&A. So if you have questions, I don't care if it's about this training. I don't care if it's whatever it's about. I don't really care. As long as it has something to do with becoming a freight broker or a freight agent or being an entrepreneur, growing a successful business, ask me anything. I don't really care. I'll do my absolute best. I can't guarantee I have the answers to everything, but I will do my best. And if I don't have the answers, I'll try to find them. And I'll try to get to as many questions as I can today. So type the questions in the chat box. Let me know. Let me know the questions that you guys have, and then we'll get the ball rolling, okay? I'm going to grab a quick drink, and then we're going to do the Q&A. All right. Great job, Tatiana. Congratulations on winning the shirt. All right, so what are we questions? All right, so hold on, I'm trying. Okay, so these are responses to other people's questions from previously. Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to find some questions. So question here is, how do you calculate line haul? Okay, so Eric asks, how do you calculate a line haul rate? All right, so there's 3 things you can do to determine freight rates. I'm going to give you, one is you can start to leverage the rating tools on the load boards like the DAT and Internet Truck Stop and other rating tools. They have data on what carriers are, what brokers are paying, what shippers are paying, based upon data that they aggregate from shippers, carriers, and brokers. They aggregate their invoices. They don't show who they are, but they aggregate that data, and then they put that into market intelligence as it comes to rates, okay? Now, that will give you a starting point, but that is not going to be necessarily the rate that you are going to quote for your shipper. They will sometimes give you flat rates. They'll give you line haul rates. They'll give you fuel rates depending upon the service. And ultimately, that's step one. You want to get a sense as to what that rate is. So if I was looking for a van rate from Buffalo, New York to Atlanta, Georgia for a van, I would type, I'd put Buffalo, New York, Atlanta, Georgia, van, and it would give me that some rating data. That would be my starting point. All right. But sometimes this rating data can be off because markets can be volatile, especially in a situation like we are now, where we were in and out of a pandemic, and there's been a lot of capacity constraints up and down because of the supply chain. And so ultimately that data can be a little bit off from time. So you don't want to rate quote directly off of that. The second way is to go to those load boards like Truckstop and DAT and search what they call a lane history. So you can put that same lane in Buffalo to Atlanta van, and you can see what carriers have posted their trucks in those lanes over the last 30, 60, 90 days. That's going to give you a list of carriers. If they've posted their truck there every day for 30 days or 60 days over 60 times over a 90-day period of time, you know that their truck is there often and that they are looking for loads out of Buffalo to go back to Atlanta. So it only makes sense. Call those people, call those carriers, call those drivers and talk to them. Some of them are going to be owner operators. Some of them are going to be people that have small fleets, and some of them may be larger carriers, but call them and discuss the opportunity for moving dedicated freight on that lane. And you're going to use some of that rating data that you gathered to try to figure out the rates and negotiate a rate. You talk to 3, 4, 5 carriers, you get a little bit of an average, and now you know what your cost basis is going to be for that truck. The other way you can do it is you can post a live load. Now, this isn't a way that I would highly recommend it, but it is a way that if you're out of the other resources and you don't have any other way to get the data, you can post a load from Buffalo to Atlanta and the phone's going to start to ring. Hopefully the phone will ring. And at that point, if it's a desirable load, then the phone is going to ring. People are going to start calling you and you're going to have a sense as to what it's going to cost you to move that load. Once you understand your cost basis, now you can determine, well, here, okay, so we've got X miles. If we know that a truck's going to cost us $1,100 and it's 1,000 miles, right? We're obviously going to have to figure out, what our cost is. And then we're going to have to and once we mark up our price and we add a couple $100 to that load and say we're going to give it to the shipper at $1,300. Now we know the total, we know the miles. All we have to do is back out the fuel surcharge, whatever your fuel surcharge is going to be, or if you're going to just give them an all-in rate, back out the fuel surcharge cost, whatever that's going to be, X cents per mile or X cents percentage. And then at that point, you take the rest and divide that total line haul divided by the number of miles, and that's going to give you per mile line haul. So that's the basic framework of how you're going to get rates, right? And how you would create a line haul rate, right? And so just so you know, a line haul rate for people it's usually a per mile plus fuel rate that a shipper is requesting. So they may have a fuel surcharge matrix where they're going to pay you X percent or X cents per mile, and they want you to give a per mile rate because what they want to do is they want to compare you to other providers based on that same benchmark, that same framework. Okay. So I hope that helps. Good question. Thanks, Val or Eric. All right. Queen Covington asks, can you have an operating authority and a brokerage with the same name? So you're asking, can you be a carrier and a broker with the exact same name? That's really interesting. I don't think you can. I think well, maybe you can. It's a good question. Honestly, I don't think you can, to be honest with you. I think you need to have a different name, but I got to double check that. I have to double check that. I don't know if you can. I see a lot of what most carriers do is if they are XYZ trucking, then sometimes they'll do on their asset side, on their brokerage side, they'll do XYZ logistics or XYZ trucking and logistics or XYZ transportation. They'll do something very similar, right? So that when they invoice for the brokerage side or they invoice for the asset side, it doesn't really set off any alarms, right? That they know it's the same company. It's just a separate division. One's brokerage, one's carrier. But I'm going to try to double check that. I just want to double check that because I don't want to misquote that. Good question. Thanks, Queen. All right, so I'm just looking for questions here. All right, so here's a question from Julio. How often would you say will shippers provide you with their broker shipper agreement instead of them agreeing to one on your shipper broker packet? And how would you make sure you're protected? I would say that you are probably going to get more shippers that are going to have their own broker shipper shipper agreement. That they'll accept their own broker shipper agreement than accepting yours. Okay. And the way that you ensure that you're covered is you read the contracts. You actually have to read the agreements. You can't just sign it and send it back. They can and will negotiate with you on some points, but you are going to have to accept the terms of that agreement in most cases, or 99% of the terms of that agreement, or you're going to have to negotiate those terms in order to do business with them because it's their ball. It's their football. They're bringing it to the game. And, you want to play in their game, you got to use their football, right? So that's the point. The point is that, to answer your question, I think you will find more shippers that will have their own broker shipper agreement. And they will negotiate with you on some terms of that agreement, but you absolutely want to read that agreement. If you feel the need, then you may want to give it to an attorney or give it to somebody else who has a little bit of background. I never really did that. I never gave it to my attorney. I would just read it and logically review it. And then I would ask specific questions on the agreement to the shippers. So I may even email them and say, clause 1.1 of the agreement says X, please explain that. or please help me to understand that, or can you clarify this point? And then I would ask that question. They would send it over to their legal team or to their organization, and then they would reply back and they'd say, this is what it means. And I'd say, okay, great, I can agree to that. Or no, that doesn't make sense. I'd like to get on the phone and talk to you to get a better clarification, right? So yeah, to answer your question, I think you will find more shippers that have their own broker shipper agreement, and you can negotiate it. Depending on who the shipper is, of course, right? The bigger the shipper, the more likely they're not going to negotiate. There's a bunch of questions in here, and some of them I don't know that they're even for me. It seems like there's a dialogue going on inside here between a bunch of people. So I'm a little confused. So if I don't get to your question, that's the reason, because I don't know who you're asking the question of. Okay, so here's a good question. T. Watkins asks, how do new small brokerages compete against larger brokers? I'm going to give you a couple of things here. Number one, technology has gotten significantly better, and it has bridged the gap between large brokers and small brokers. The TMS, the tracking software, all of the thing, technology as a whole has closed the gap in the separation between large brokers and small brokers. When I first started, large brokers had all the best technology and small brokers had none. And that's why I had to spend over $1 million of my own money to develop out the technology, our own technology. We had developed our own transportation management software and systems and all that. Today, I wouldn't have to do that. So number one, leverage technology. Number two, I'm going to give you a little bit of a hint. Here's how you can compete and rebut shippers that are doing business with big brokers like CH and TQL and all the large brokers out there, okay? And here's how I approached it. It's what I call big fish, small pond, small fish, big pond, okay? So let me give you an example. I call a shipper, they say they're doing business with CH. I don't badmouth CH, number one. I don't badmouth my competitors. But I explained to them the difference, and here's the difference that you can expect, Mr. Shipper. See, what you have to understand, Mr. Shipper, is that to C.H. Robinson, right, you're a small shipper. Most of the, would you rather be a small shipper in a big pond or a big shipper in a small pond? So what I mean by that is C.H. Robinson puts all their best assets and all their best personnel and all of their best resources towards the large shippers, people that are doing 5 million or more per year in freight spend. That's where they dedicate their resources because they know it's an 80-20 and they know that large clients is really what pays the bills. So the smaller clients kind of get secondhand service. That's the reality of a large brokerage. Okay. Now, if you're a smaller broker, right, even a small shipper means an enormous amount to you. So they will get the best assets. They'll get the best resources. They'll get the best service. So it comes back to that whole small shipper, in a big pond or a big shipper in a small pond type deal, right? So you want to differentiate yourself and let them understand that they are way more important to you than they are to C.H. Robinson or to whatever large brokerage is out there. That's how you can help to differentiate yourself, right? And I don't even know if I'm articulating this. For some reason, I have a mind freeze going on right now. But big shipper, so big fish in a small pond or small fish in a big pond, right? What would you rather be? They'd rather be a big fish in a small pond than a small fish in a big pond. And that's what they get when they're dealing with large brokers. Leverage technology is another thing. It's closed the gap and has allowed you to get better rating data. It's allowed you to provide better service. It's allowed you to source capacity better. There's so much better now than it was when I started back in 2003. So those are a couple of tips. Jasan Mahal, are you asking me that question? Have you had any shippers in the Northwest? Please clarify. Have you gotten any shippers in the Northwest? Is that question for me, or is there some dialogue going on that I don't know about? If your question is to me, yeah. In my local area in Western New York, less than 2% of the revenue that I've ever done came from this area. The rest of it was all over the country. We did a ton out of the Pacific Northwest. We did a ton on the West Coast. We were all over the place. We were heavy in the Midwest, Northeast, South. Well, you got to remember, when I sold the business, we had over 80 offices. We had over 80 agencies throughout the United States. So we did business in almost every niche, in almost every geography, right? So at the time that I sold the business, I don't remember what we were doing. I think we were doing like, I don't know, what was it? Let's see. So we were doing, let's see. Geez, we were doing like something like 300 loads a day, I think, when I sold the company, something like that. So yeah, we were doing business all over the place. I don't know if that question was for me, but again, it seems like there's some sort of conversation going on. So try to keep the dialogue down to a minimum. We're doing the Q&A. If you guys want me to do this Q&A, if not, I can just cut it off right now and we can all go do our thing. I'm busy. You're busy. We all have shit to do. So keep the internal chatter down, right? While we're doing this Q&A, if you could. If you have a question for me, then direct it to me. Say, hey, Dennis, can you, right? Please let me know that. So I'm going to stick around for another minute or two. If I don't get any good questions, then I'm out of here. I got a lot of stuff to do today. I'm preparing that whole Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program. It's going to be launching soon. If you guys are curious or want to be a part of that Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, you're going to get all the details, but you got to be on the wait list. If you're not on the wait list, you're not even going to get a chance to get enrolled, right? So you can get on the wait list at freightbrokerbootcamp.com/FB sales. Okay. That's all you got to do. That'll get you on the wait list. You'll get all the details. It's not a free program, but it's going to be worth at least 10 times whatever I charge for it. Okay. And you know, the response that we got from the people that took the previous course, it was like a 97 out of 100. They scored the course really from a value perspective in the survey. So it's crazy. So you guys will really enjoy it. Those of you that are part of the accelerator when I launch it. Yeah. So Courtney, handling annual bids in an environment like this is very challenging. Shippers understand that, but they're very adverse to changing their strategy. So some shippers are going to do annual bids. Here's my only suggestion. If the shipper requires you to submit an annual bid to be a provider, then you're going to have to submit an annual bid. But you're going to run the risk that if volatility hits the market or something changes dramatically, that you're not going to be able to cover those loads. The worst case scenario is you have to go back to that shipper, because if you can't cover the loads for the bid that you put in, then most brokers aren't going to be able to cover the loads that the bid that they put in. And ultimately you stand the chance of possibly losing the lanes or going back to the shipper and saying, listen, we need to raise the rates because of this market condition, because we just had a pandemic, or because of, shortage of carriers, or because of whatever's going on, right? The economic or political climate at the time is causing major disruption in the supply chain. And so ultimately, if you are required to do an annual bid with a shipper, then go ahead and do the bid. You have to make your best estimate on what you can make money on now and understand that later. Because if you don't get in the dance, right? If you don't get on the dance floor, then you can't win the contest. Okay. So in order to get on the dance floor, you got to submit the bid and you got to be somewhere in the rates, right? You got to be somewhere in the top 3 or 4 in order to expect to get any freight in an annual bid. And so ultimately you got to bid based on what's going on today, and just know that if things change dramatically, most shippers will come back to their top providers and allow them to adjust their rates. You are not required by law or by the contract to accept freight and lose money. You're not required to do that. Now, there are times when you may choose to do that, but you are not required in an annual bid to lose money on a load. You can always reject a load or turn it back or push it back and give feedback to your shipper and let them know that market conditions have changed in such a way that you can no longer cover the freight at this level. They're either going to go to another broker or they're going to allow you to adjust your rate. That's my suggestion. There is no magic button for it, but that's the winning strategy. Oops. All right. So here's a question from Tasha. What is double brokering? Is it where one broker offers a price on a lane and another broker will try and offer it at a lower price? Tasha, so there's two scenarios. One is double brokering and one is co-brokering. Double brokering is the unauthorized rebrokering of a load. So let me give you an example. If I'm a broker and I broker a load to what I believe is a carrier, and that carrier is going to put it on their own trucks and they're going to pick up and deliver that freight for me per the contract, that's a normal brokered load. But if that carrier then posts that load or rebrokers that load to another broker or to another carrier without my knowledge, without my consent, that's double brokering, and that's unethical, number one, and was always a part of my contract that it was a violation of our terms of our agreement and they would forfeit any of compensation. But ultimately, that's double brokering. Double brokering is the unauthorized rebrokering of a load. Now, co-broker, so the description you gave is correct. So the description, so co-brokering is the authorized rebrokering of a load. So let's say, for example, I'm a broker and I specialize in van freight, and I've got a client who does a lot of flatbed freight. So I don't have the assets or the resources or the experience really to move flatbed freight right now. So maybe what I do is I partner with another broker who has a lot of experience in flatbed. We put together an agreement, a co-broker agreement where terms are totally transparent. We totally agree on everything. I broker the loads to them at X rate. They're then going to add a little bit of margin on it and rebroker it to their carriers. And then ultimately, it's transparent, right? So it's really the transparency and the agreement up front that allows it to be co-broker. And that does happen. Now, that's not the primary way that you want to grow your business, okay? That's why I gave you that example. If you're specialized in van freight, just as a hypothetical, and you've got somebody who moves flatbeds and you're not ready to move into that, you could potentially if you know a broker who's really good at moving flatbed freight, then you might co-broker a relationship with them. Or maybe it's heavy haul and you don't have time or the interest in learning that, but you've got some shippers who have some heavy haul in addition to the other freight you're moving for them, and you can make some money on it by co-brokering that load with another broker. If you don't have the carrier base in order to do that. So that's an example. That's the difference between double brokering and co-brokering, okay? Because I get a lot of questions on that. Good question. Here's a good question from Tej. For a relatively new broker, would you suggest investing in digital marketing, more specifically SEO and or ad campaigns on LinkedIn and Facebook? I would not suggest for a new broker to go out and do paid advertising, right? Pay-per-click on Google, pay-per-click on LinkedIn, pay-per-click, or any sort of paid ad campaigns. I would not suggest that for a new broker. Number one, as a new broker, you probably don't understand your niche yet. You probably don't fully understand pricing yet. You probably don't have a lot of experience in moving freight, right? So you just don't have quite enough experience yet. And before you have that initial experience, I wouldn't suggest doing paid ads because it can get very expensive very quickly if you're not converting those leads into revenue, right? So, it's not uncommon you would have to spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars in ad spend in order to acquire a customer. So that means if you spent just hypothetically $1,000, right, to acquire a customer, that means before you start making any money, you need to do over $1,000 with them before you can recover your investment. Now, that's not a lot of money in the big scheme of things, but for new brokers, I wouldn't suggest paid advertising, but I would suggest organic. So for example, SEO, search engine optimization. So would I suggest you have a website? Would I suggest you have a blog? Would I suggest you start putting out content? Would I suggest you start leveraging social media like LinkedIn? Absolutely. Organic digital marketing, I totally agree with. If you spent 30 minutes or 60 minutes a day engaging on social and using social media and using content marketing in your blog in order to start ranking in the search engine so people can find you, that becomes more like an attraction technique where people are coming to you. You're not going to them, right? Now, it takes time. SEO doesn't happen overnight. Honestly, SEO takes, these days it takes longer than it did when I first started. But the good thing about SEO, even if it took you a year to rank on the first page for your keyword, whatever that primary keyword is, if it took you a year, right? The cool part is once you rank organically on the search engines, and many times you will rank organically and get that free traffic for years to come, right? So I remember that when I first started my freight brokerage back in 2003, one of the first things I did was set up our website, and we started focusing on SEO, right? And it took me a full year to get on the first page for the term freight broker, right? So for some different keywords that I identified that people were looking for. But then the cool part was, with very little work after that, I was able to maintain that first page for many years, that first page. And as a matter of fact, we were ranked in the top 1 or 2 for many of those years, right? So it takes a lot of effort to get there, but it doesn't take a lot of effort to maintain that position, okay? Depending upon the niche, depending upon the keyword, depending upon the industry. But in the freight industry, it's not nearly as competitive as some other industries. So yeah, I do believe you should do digital marketing. I think you should focus on organic marketing to start, and that would start with your website. And that website, you should be creating content on that website, whether that be videos, whether that be blogs, or a combination of the two. And I think you should be leveraging social media as a distribution channel and a way to build community. Those are the couple things that I would suggest from a digital marketing perspective. Okay? Good question. Thanks. Tatiana, if you don't have much experience and want to start a brokerage, would dispatching be a good starting point? I don't teach independent dispatch business model. I think learning how to dispatch is a part of the process. So there is some value there, but I don't teach or promote independent dispatch, because personally, I believe that independent dispatch companies is the equivalent of unauthorized brokering. It's like you're brokering without an authority. Now, that may piss some people off here, but I'm telling you my opinion. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. But based on the letter of the law, if you accept compensation for arranging transportation between a shipper and a carrier, you are a broker. And if you are doing that as a dispatcher without a brokerage authority, then you're doing unauthorized brokering, in my opinion. So I don't teach dispatch. I don't promote dispatch. I don't care how you make your money. So to more specifically answer your question, dispatching is a part of being a broker, but independent dispatchers are not brokers in the respect of what it takes to build a real brokerage. Okay. Because independent dispatchers get all their loads from load boards, most of their loads from load boards, from other brokers, not from shippers direct in most cases. So they're really not developing a shipper database. They're really not selling. They're really not marketing. They're just searching the load boards. And so some people choose to start that way. I started as a broker. Many of the success stories of past students that have went on, guys like Yogi Goswami and Franklin Ndekwe and Monica Gonzalez and Elio Longario and Eloy Lozano and all the people that you've seen me interview that are past students that have went on to grow 7 and even 8-figure businesses. Those are people that took my course and became a freight broker or a freight agent. My suggestion to you is, if you're not ready to become a broker, then become an agent, become a freight agent, right? If you can't make money as a freight agent, you probably won't make it as a freight broker, but at least you're going to build a customer base and have a real asset. Okay. So I hope that helps. Jessica asks, Dennis, is a fax machine still necessary, or can everything be handled digital? A traditional fax machine, I think, is a waste of money. You can send and receive everything digitally. That means you're probably going to need a scanner and a printer. Okay. So if you need to print something and you actually need to sign it, if you don't have a digital signature, then, you print it out, you sign it, scan it back in and send it. I don't think a traditional fax machine, I don't even know if they sell them anymore. They probably do, but I don't have a traditional fax machine, just so you know. And I don't think a lot of brokers do either, unless they're just very old school. Most everything is transitioned via digital. And then either if it has to be signed, then it's either digitally signed or it's printed and then scanned back in and sent. Good question. Thanks. Patricia Burke asks, hey, Dennis, do you feel freight brokerage market is flooded? Nope. I really don't think it's flooded at all. Here's why. There's a huge driver shortage, and that driver shortage is getting bigger year after year after year. That's making the shipper's job much harder. So if you have, shippers are looking for good brokers, they're looking for carriers. But the problem is that there's a huge driver shortage because of the baby boomer effect. So there's more people that are retiring from driving than are coming into the industry because young people don't want to be drivers, right? They all want to be Instagram famous, and they all want to, be entrepreneurs and have, be on TikTok. I mean, I'm over exaggerating, but my point is that none of the young generation want to become drivers, and the baby boomers are retiring, and it's creating a shortage of trucks and drivers. And so that demand and that shortage makes the opportunity for brokers even better. Okay. Matter of fact, there are more brokers. I'm pretty sure this is the case. There are more licensed freight brokers in 2003 when I first got started than there are today, actually licensed brokers. Okay. So, I think there's, of course there's competition. I'm not trying to say there's not competition, because there is competition. But what you have to understand is that even when the economy sucks, global GDP goes up year after year, predominantly because of the population explosion that's going on all around the world. We're no longer a local business. There's very few local businesses. They either sell nationally or internationally, or they source nationally or internationally. And so what happens is freight is now a global phenomenon. It's not, I make something in Clarence and then I sell it to somebody in Clarence and they pick it up and deliver, pick it up at my door, right? It doesn't work that way. So the population boom is causing more consumption, causing more building, causing more infrastructure, and therefore the growth of GDP and of spending and of freight continues to go up. And that, paralleled with a growing driver shortage, makes freight brokers more valuable than ever. So I hope that helps. All right. All right, people, listen, I'm going to wrap it up for today. I hope you enjoyed this. I truly appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. Remember what my shirt says: grit, talent counts, effort counts twice. Use that as some motivation to go out and make some calls, get a shipper today, move some loads, make some money. If you're curious about becoming a freight broker or a freight agent, and you don't know where to go, and you need help from somebody who's done over $200 million in sales and has trained over 8,000 students, and I offer a 60-day, 100% money back guarantee. I can't make it any easier. Go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Have an awesome day. See you next week, Monday at noon, with another Freight Broker Bootcamp Live.